Is it Grok or is it Grok? I am watching all of the very interesting back and forth, both on this channel as well as on X. And I'm wondering if Elon might even back down on this. There is video evidence that the guy who wrote the book actually called it Grok. So this would be the perfect time for Elon to back down after only a single day of the existence of this new product. Maybe he should say, oh yeah, okay, I'll go with Grok. We'll see what happens on that. So the big news of the day is Grok, but I did a 15-minute video on that earlier. Guess what? There are already a couple of very exciting and interesting updates. And as I mentioned, that is going to be added to the subject matter for this channel because I believe that it's going to be important for Tesla. Anyway, I'm also going to do an update here in a minute about the 20 possible market-moving catalysts that could move the stock in the next 6 months. 20! I have 20 of them. And then at the end, after everything else, I'm going to make an updated statement. This is after everything else. So if you don't want to wait, if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. At the very end, I'm going to make an updated statement on why I'm wearing the Star of David. It is not a political statement. All right? That's the key. This is not a political statement at all. So watch at the end if you wish. So hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify, do all those kind of good things because as usual, you know, there's great shows coming up tomorrow morning. We've got Scott Walter coming on to talk about the IPO for Starlink. We have got our regular Sunday night show, as you know, where we talk about the week ahead in terms of Tesla stock, the financial world, et cetera, et cetera. That's commonly the number one most watched show of the week. So if you're not watching that show, you might want to come along and take a look at that. Remember that this is the perfect time to be buying your Christmas gifts. You can take care of a lot of people on the Christmas list with your, you know, your beautiful box. That's all I'm going to show you, just the box. And this inside. Oh yeah, that. There, okay. Anyway, and then join Patreon. Thank you so much. Had more people joining on Patreon today, had more purchases of the Cybertrucks today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. That is such a help, such a support for the station. All right. Top Gear. I'm sure you know who Top Gear is. So, you know, they were caught. You can't be caught, really. They were, I think, right over at Redondo Beach or something here in California with their cameras and everything else, taking videos and walking around and shooting various aspects of the Cybertruck. And so my guess, oh yeah, did I just say this the other day if you were watching? Yeah, I think they're going to repeat what they did when they did the Model 3 launch in China and in Europe. They had major national, you know, online magazines. They had, what do you want to call them? An influencer. I guess I'm sort of an influencer on a very small scale. Anyway, they had influencers. They had internet personalities that reviewed that car. And I thought that was a very good way to launch the car. I'm guessing, well, it's apparent. I don't have to guess anymore. I said they'll do this again because it worked. And so I think they will. And some of those YouTube videos had millions of views. Anyway, I think that that'll be done right at the time of the handover, maybe the next day, et cetera, et cetera. We'll begin to see those. So I'm sure they'll get Jay Leno, of course, will be one of them, and he'll get maybe 10 million views. I mean, it might really turn into one of his best ever. So I'm sure Jay Leno will be doing that for the Jay Leno Garage. Okay, this is probably as good a time as any to talk about my 20 catalysts. And these are not catalysts for like 2026 or 2025. These are catalysts that I think will happen fairly soon. Let me know in the comments below if you think any of these are stupid or ridiculous or not a chance, Randy, etc. Or if I miss one or two or three or four, let me know about that too. All right, number one, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. Number one will be the Cybertruck handover, including the specs, the pricing, surprises about the Cybertruck, and also sometimes an additional surprise. That's on November 30th. I think there's going to be some price increase going into that handoff because people are going to be expecting surprises and they're going to be expecting good news, hopefully on the specs and the prices. But if everything turns out good, if that show is a good show, then we could see more price improvement after that takes place. And then, like I mentioned, I think there'll be 2 or 3 of these videos that next week. That's should be very, very strong for the stock all the month of November and going into December. All right, number 2, a possible Optimus or possible Optimi in person doing some kind of work at the handover. I don't know what that work might be. Some people said, hey, they could drive it out. Somebody else said, no, the Optimi can't drive. Well, these are self-driving cars. How hard could it be? Or they could just open the door for somebody to get in, or I don't know yet, but I think there will be in-person Optimi doing real work at that event. The only negative would be that you don't want to ruin the day for the bride, by having the the bridesmaids look better than the bride. But I think that this is too big of an opportunity not to show Optimus, at least one and hopefully several, doing something fun. All right. That's on November 30th. All right. Next will be the Cybertruck third-party reviews, which are obviously being lined up. And that would be, I would say, all of December and January. There'll be review after review after review. And then there'll be pictures after picture after picture. And they'll be taking pictures of all the different wraps. And it'll be on and on and on and on. Then number 4, unique use case reviews. So there'll be off-road, farm work, construction work, hauling and towing, winter. And again, some of these are probably already shot because we've seen the off-road stuff. We've seen, and so that's going to be put together in some kind of a beautiful review. We've seen the winter shots. That'll be put together in some kind of a review. So there's going to be massive, massive amounts of coverage over December and January. And that's got to help everything. It's not just going to help the Cybertruck. As Gary Black says, it'll have the halo effect. People will go, oh my gosh, that's a Tesla. Oh, let me look up and we'll see. Okay, you get it. All right. Number 5, Elon releases the actual Tommy gun video where it shows him actually shooting up the car. That's got to happen for sure. There's already people asking for that. People saying, oh, see, he didn't really shoot it up and it's all fake. And no, that's going to happen. He's going to have to release that video. All right, number 6. And did I tell you that I did that with a padlock years ago? I actually got a 45 and went out. We took video of me shooting the padlock that we carry, the Abus discus. You might know what that is. I was the one who introduced the discus into the United States markets. We Master at the time was shooting their padlocks with a 45. So I figured, hey, we got to do the same thing. Went out and did that. That was kind of fun. I think it's the only time I've ever shot an actual gun. Anyway, okay. So let's see. Number 6, initial drone reports are other evidence of quantities of the model, of the product actually being delivered. Yeah. So in other words, where we get to see what's really happening on the ramp. So I'm calling that a January 2. So we'll get some information on the January 2, probably, maybe. But then in addition, we'll get drone footage showing how many are being loaded onto vehicles, how many are coming out each day. We'll see, what does this ramp beginning to look like? That could be a potential catalyst, don't you think? Okay, number 7, the total auto sales on January 2nd. That's going to be a big catalyst. I'm hoping for 500,000. I haven't really studied it yet, but I've always said I thought, based on what I was seeing, that it'd be 500,000. Lots of folks are saying 500,000. The street is at 480. So a nice beat at 500 would be good. Okay, number 8, any indication of increasing backlogs for the Model 3. That would be happening in November. Right now, I'm seeing a little bit of data coming out that suggests it's doing okay, but not knocking the ball, not knocking the cover off the ball for those of you who are baseball fans. And since most of you are between the ages of 45 and 100, and you're all male, I'm guessing you're all baseball fans. So knocking, yes, so you would get that. All right. Number 9, the Model 3 USA announcement, including the pricing. I'm saying that's in January. Do they start shipping in January? I think so. But at least the announcement will happen by January. All right. I think that'll be big. Number 19, indications of Model Y USA increasing backlogs. We're already starting to see a little bit of that. I'm saying that that'll happen after January when we get the change in the IRA approach, the way that the cars are, get the $7,500 off immediately. So maybe it'll be February before we see it, but there'll be increasing backlogs, which will mean opportunities for Tesla to increase prices. And it'll mean maybe the opportunity to start increasing production down in Austin. That would be a massive catalyst. If they began to go to more shifts and started ramping production down in Austin beyond what it is now, or in Germany, or I should say, and either one, you start to see increasing production in either one of those locations, that will be a massive catalyst. Okay, any price increases is number 11. Doesn't matter where or what, as long as there's not a bunch of offsetting price decreases. Number 12, the next video of Optimi, if it includes multiple dozens of them doing real work, and or a video of the production line showing Optimus coming off the production line, Optimi coming off the production line. It's some estimate of quantities would be a lovely thing. If the Optimi are actually working on the production line and making other Optimi, that would be off the charts incredible. So anyway, those would be a bunch of but can you imagine? Those would be catalysts, okay? Number 13, the announcement of Shanghai production of megapacks. I'm saying that'll happen at the earnings call in January. They're already building the building. They're already putting in the equipment. This is happening. Nobody knows where, nobody knows what, nobody's doing drone, nobody knows, because it's a small building. This is something they can do completely undercover. Nobody even knows it's happening. They might even be doing it somewhere else in the world and not telling us, just like they did with Lathrop. Nobody knew about that until I put it in the book, the Elon Musk mission. Have you bought your copy yet? Okay, number 14, any announcement on Juniper version of the Model Y, preferably with an actual picture of the car, along with the specs, pricing, and handover. I'm saying we might get that by February, March at the latest. I'm hoping. I'd like to see that car because all the things that they did to the Model Y are necessary on the Model Y and would improve it dramatically and make it an even bigger seller. All right, number 15, shovels in the ground at Mexico, Berlin, Reno, and/or Indio. I'm in California. Indio's down the block. Or India and/or China, any of those places, or multiples of those. Each time there's an announcement, that could be a small catalyst. Maybe they'll make a bunch of announcements at once. I don't know, but those are catalysts. Number 18, this should probably have been number 2, the V12 of the FSD in wide release. Even when it comes out in small release, and Chuck Cook and others start talking about their experience with it. But when it goes into wide release, I think that's when you're going to get the pop, okay? And then if the V12 is as good as everybody thinks it is, maybe we're pretty darn close to FSD. I didn't even put it on the list here. So FSD being 100% complete, obviously would blow the stock to the moon, all right? We know this. This would be bigger than anything except maybe if Optimus goes into production with pricing. That would be with quantities. Oh yeah, that would be huge. All right, number 19, an AI Day 3 announcement. I think they'll announce it in January at the earnings call, or possibly in February. For a February 28th would be my guess for when they'll do AI Day 3. It might be later, but I'm hoping for February 20th, and maybe that's when all the Optimus news pops, okay? And then number 20, my last one, the Grok rollout and other X.AI success in 2023, 2024 will impact Tesla and maybe the stock. We'll talk about a couple of things that have already been announced today. I think you'll begin to see what I'm talking about there. All right. Truflation is falling rapidly and is now sitting at just 2.24%. If oil prices hold around this $80, $85 level, we could be under 2% on truflation soon. I went through some of the other items on the list, and a lot of them are starting to pop down now. Wage inflation now looking like it's only at 3%. If you look at some of the videos that we've done over the last 3 days, things do look sweet for the immediate future. All right, here's the update on Grok. Grok will be running native on Tesla, on Tesla vehicles with local compute. So yes, you could have running conversations with your car. You could be driving down the street. It's like, oh, Well, I'm sitting here in Riverside, California, and there's a little mountain over there, and it looks like there's a lot of activity on that mountain. What's the name of the mountain? And the car will tell you, oh, that's Mount Rubidoux. You know, I mean, I don't know what. Um, what should I buy my wife for her Christmas? And you could be having these conversations with your car. Anyway, number two, Elon Musk. This is Elon Musk on X saying this. Provided our vehicle AI computer is able to run the model, so this is not a definite, but a possible and maybe a probable, Tesla will probably have the most amount of true usable inference compute on Earth. Okay, so you know what inference compute is, right? That's where you have remote computers like maybe in your house or in your business or whatever, and that is hooked up onto becomes a big, huge, massive computer based on all of this inference compute that's out there. Well, now you're thinking about 4 million, 5 million cars that all have a computer in them, and all those are hooked up into Dojo or into whatever, and that information is now when your car, even in a robotaxi future, the cars will only be used for 1/3 of the hours per week, leaving 2/3 for distributed inference like SETI. So you could be using all of that compute to make sure that if there's anybody out there in space that we don't miss them. But it can be used for millions of other things. It can be used to do jobs that are just too big for any supercomputer to do. So those are two pretty cool announcements for the very first day that we even know what a Grok is, or a Grok. We'll find out. Reuters says, this is about BYD. Chinese electric vehicle giant BYD plans to build its first European car factory in Hungary, according to a German newspaper on Saturday. The Frankfurter, blah, 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 yes, who can pronounce that? Citing unnamed sources close to BYD, said the decision had already been made internally. A government website said that BYD in Shenzhen, where BYD is headquartered, posted an article last month saying the Hungarian prime minister met BYD chairman and on a visit to the company. BYD, contacted by Reuters, said it was still looking for the right location and would make an announcement by the end of the year. All right, so remember to watch tomorrow when Scott Walter discusses the upcoming IPO for Starlink and much more about that entire project, the entire SpaceX thing. He'll be talking about that, but mostly we're going to concentrate on Starlink. What is Starlink? What are the potential for Starlink, and why would you want to be part of the IPO? Maybe you already know that, but Scott's got some insight about that. And then tomorrow night, the regular broadcast discussing the week ahead. So hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify. You want to buy your Cybertruck, in this beautiful box, because it is going to be Christmas before you know it. Why are you waiting? It's just faster and easier. Get it now. $25 for one, $45 for two, $65 for three, $210 for 10, and then you can cover a whole bunch of people on your list. And you can get it in the camo over here. Maybe I'll do a matte black one as well. Did you notice that matte black one on the thumbnail? Yeah. So that apparently driving around down in Santa Monica earlier today. Anyway, so I have had almost universal appreciation for my wearing the Star of David. Lots and lots of very kind comments. But I've had a few who have said, hey, Randy, please leave politics off the channel. Well, I do splash in a little bit of politics from time to time because basically I'm transparent, and it's part of who I am. I am a political animal. I do care a lot about politics, but I try to leave out my opinion, except as it impacts Tesla or some kind of a story that we're on that I think it makes sense to bring it in. But I'm not looking for opportunities to bring it in, just when I think it's appropriate. But this Star of David has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with the short memory of folks who don't realize that 60 years ago in the United States, Jews were not allowed to join most country clubs. My grandparents, 70 years ago, lived in a neighborhood where the deeds had exclusion clauses for Jews. I don't know when those went away. Could have been a lot sooner than what I'm talking about, maybe 60 or 50 years ago. I heard radio programs in the 70s with the most horrific Jewish screeds or anti-Jewish screeds. All right. That's 50 years ago. I'm not worried at all about whether some person has a stupid prejudice against Jews, whatever. Maybe you have some stereotypical ideas about how Jews are. Okay, that's dumb, but okay, have them. That's fine. I have very clear feelings about Israel and that entire situation, but that's not what I'm talking about. You want me to spend an hour on that sometime? Tell me below. But there's plenty of other people that, I know a lot about it. Believe me, I've studied it backwards, forwards, and inside out. And I have an expert in the house living with me who's done even more study than I have. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about there are people in the United States right now who want Jews exterminated. They don't believe they have a right to live. There are professors in our universities teaching our kids to believe horrific things about Jews in our universities and to look at them askance. That's what I'm talking about. I can't not say something. I can't not make my voice heard, because that happened before. Lots of people didn't make their voice heard. And there was a big, and it's not just once. I don't know if you know that there were probably more Jews killed in the USSR than there were in Nazi Germany. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I can't stand by. I can't stand idly by. While I have a voice, I'll be raising this issue until we get back to a time like we were, I believe, in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, when there was almost zero anti-Semitism in the United States. That's where we need to get back to, and that needs to happen. All right. So if you believe that the Jews should die, if you believe that they should be pushed into the ocean so that the Palestinians can take over the entire state of Israel, and that Jews just don't have any right to live in that place, fine. That's your opinion. And if you don't want to listen to my channel because I'm wearing the Star of David and it offends you, then don't watch. Hey, it's been great talking to you.